I could be wearing nothing but a leopard print thong right now, and you would have no idea. Welcome back to the old setup. I'm back sitting down again, which I think I'm gonna keep it this way. I'm enjoying it, even though I spin in my chair uncontrollably. It's a lot more fun, and we got the Christmas lights up because we are just past Halloween, and I am a fanatic for Christmas. I love it. It makes me so happy and joyous, and I wanted to turn on my lights, which I put up last year. And if you look back at the videos, I haven't taken them down since they've just been off, and now they're back on. In addition to that, got the old poppy on, which for those of you outside of Canada, this is something we do in November. November 11th is Remembrance Day, so it's like a whole, honoring the veterans service kind of thing, and we wear this cool little flower around. Before I get into the topic, this kind of joins in with it. Some of you might be asking, Wendigo, what is that super cool background you have on your leftmost monitor? Oh, that one? That one right there? I know you might not be able to see it very well, so Jarvis Enhance. Oh yeah, look at that. That is a thumbnail for the upcoming series of Subnautica streams I will be doing with my boy Socks. And he drew that. That's him in the sea moth, and that's me with the peeper. So if you guys want to tune in, we will probably be doing that most often on Thursdays around 7 o'clock-ish Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to pop in and say hi, I love interacting with chat, and it'll be my first time trying a multiplayer mod for Subnautica. So please tune in for that. I love seeing you guys there. Anyway, the topic I wanted to talk about today is a topic that kind of snowballs into Subnautica territory a little bit, what I'll get into later. Some drama happened back in July, and I just didn't really cover it at the time, and I guess I'll briefly touch on it in this video. Maybe I'll make a bigger video about it some other day, but that's neither here nor there. Indie game studios are pretty much the only hope in the gaming industry right now. That may sound desperate, that may sound like I'm exaggerating, but if you look at the state of AAA gaming over the past 10 years, rapidly declined. Now, EA is bringing it back a little bit with Battlefield, and then they got bought out by the Saudi Arabian government. So, again, neither here nor there, but it's something of note. Overall, the gaming industry has shifted towards a reliance on indie studios. Maybe not so much a reliance as a curation towards it. A lot of people have been gravitating towards indie games, and a lot of them are being more appreciated in the common market, opposed to their AAA counterparts. In realms of horror, something like Phasmophobia that recently released on console, and I've been back into playing lately on my PC. Very, very fun game. I'm also doing streams of that. So if I'll be streaming that randomly if you guys want to come in and just watch me get the shit scared out of me. And in the realm of tactical shooters, something like Ready or Not, which is one of my absolute favorite games ever. Like it is just a beautiful game for what it is. And it was developed by a indie studio by the name of Void Interactive, which is the topic for today's video. Now, I loved them when this game dropped. It dropped a couple years ago, and it was a bit shoddy in terms of setting up things, but it had incredibly realistic and slow-paced gameplay for a more accurate and pressuring tactical feel. The game is about SWAT officers, by the way. You play on a SWAT team and go through different realistic kind of police settings. Any police-related media coming out recently, it's going to be an awkward kind of stance. Law enforcement in the past forever has not had the greatest reputation ever, I'm going to be honest. And that's something that this game tackled head on, that I absolutely loved. And in their recent update, when they fully released the game and dropped all the missions in sequence and had storylines attached to them, that's what they did. Each mission would bring you into a new, category of crime, a new area of something that was just bad and illegal. And you would track it from basically the bottommost level all the way up to the top of the food chain to, find whoever's responsible. Not so much in a detective light, but more in a sequential playthrough of exploring these horrible crime rings. And it tackled a lot of heavy themes head on, which it still does. And I'm still not going to shun this game. I recommend it. I still play it. I recommend it if you want to get a harsher, more realistic take on a tactical shooter while also getting a lot of political statement in a game, which I think is incredibly relevant today. Some examples of the themes that it covers. Again, I don't know how much of this I'm going to censor out because of YouTube. It covers things like sexual abuse, human trafficking, drug rings, illegal migration, and even subjects as touchy as mass shootings, which is incredibly brave for a game to take a stance on in any time, really. It's an interesting take, and maybe I'll leave that for another video discussing why I like the game. And maybe I should have posted that before I started dissing on the developers, but there is a lot of soul and politics and intent behind the message in this game. It deals with the duality of the horrible things that a first responder has to deal with every day and the tough choices you're forced to make, the split between saving and ending a life when it's, I guess, deemed right in a societal, view to do that, and police brutality is covered a lot in this game. Things like corruption are shown throughout the levels, and it provides you a really unique take, something that just has not been done before, and I really appreciate that about the game. So you can understand why, it would be a point of interest for me. There's a bunch of great video essays on this game on YouTube, and I highly recommend you go watch one and get an idea of my initial impression of these developers. And Void Interactive was very promising, releasing a bunch of cool updates and keeping their community informed through the Steam page and, their social media and all that, and attending conventions, taking feedback to heart, which is something that game companies don't really do a whole lot of today. However, in the past few months to a year, I've noticed a lot of decline in them, and it has really ripped my heart out in a similar way to the drama between Krafton and Unknown Worlds. That's a bit different, though, because it's more like the big evil publisher kind of siphoning Unknown Worlds. I still love Unknown Worlds as a company, and I think they do amazing things, and I'm very excited for Subnautica 2 because I still have faith in the initial working team to bring any kind of vision to life. The fate of the game's state and updates rely in Krafton and their decision, and fuck you, Krafton, you are evil. Void Interactive, however, seems to experience some corruption. I say that term loosely. It's not like, they're taking bribes, but some corruption from the inside, I guess. To get you an idea of some of the very, very harsh ways that they confront you with their themes, there are levels like, I forget the name of the level. It takes place at 213 Park Homes. I remember that address. And you're essentially raiding a meth lab. In this house, you find a child actively overdosing and seizing up on a bed. And it is a horrific sight. It is genuinely really awkward and difficult to play through that part of the mission. You have to report that. Like, you have to report that to complete the mission. And it's very confrontational with that. I see it no differently than when people put harsh themes in movies. When people put things, in front of you that are just uncomfortable. Art is supposed to disturb the comfortable and comfort the disturbed. Or I think that's the quote, right? However, recently, with the console release being one of my biggest issues with this game. Now, I have no issues with console players gaining access to this. I think it's a great idea to push this very heavy and important topic, in my opinion, to a wider audience, while also providing a pretty cool and unique gameplay experience that rewards you for saving lives. Like, the whole point of the game, you get different grades on missions, and in order to S-tier a mission, you cannot kill a single person. You have to bring them all in alive and very minimally harmed. And I think that's a really, really cool system that you don't see a lot in games. Because, one, it's incredibly challenging. You go in with beanbag launchers and, pepper ball launchers, and you have to take it very sequentially and tactically and preserve the life of the guys who are shooting at you. I think that's a pretty interesting concept that you don't see a whole lot in games. And I think bringing that to a console audience is never a bad thing. I think it's a great thing to expand your audience, and for the longest time, I didn't have a PC. So I was that console audience that was just like, damn, I see all these, really cool games on PC, but I can't firsthand experience them because I'm locked to Xbox or PS4 or PS5 or whatever it may be. Maybe you're on the GameCube still, which you got some catching up to do. But during their console release, they pulled those punches. They censored a lot of things in the game. Granted, those themes are still there and present. The levels are still just as harsh in their concepts, but the actual visuals and the theming and the tough things that they make you see, that the things they throw in front of you aren't really there. And a lot of people are happy with that decision. They believe that some of the stuff shown in Ready or Not just shouldn't be there, and it can be implied and just as effective. This might be a hot take, but I personally believe that there's some missions in that game I just don't play. I just don't play because the themes that are shown have made me uncomfortable. They have thrown it in my face and brought me to a reality where I'm like, holy shit, this stuff actively goes on, and I don't want to sit down after a long day and play through that. But I think that's a good thing to an extent. There should be a level of discomfort in a political charged game. Every DLC they drop is a new political theming. Their first DLC, Home Invasion, was based around a hurricane. You were going through the struggles of like active disaster in this fictional LA, and the current one is political assassination, which is very, very present. I don't know if you guys have heard about anything recently or looked at the news, but it's a little bit relevant. So to me, it was a little odd that they took this large, bonus, effectively this income from console release, and pulled their punches on that. That's not my only gripe with the console release. If they do that, fine. I can breathe with that a little bit, and I can let that be. But additionally, in a recent update, I believe Los Sueños Stories was the name of the update, they added in a couple of neat things, including a weapon, a secondary handgun that was a 50 caliber handgun. Not the Desert Eagle, but same caliber, just looks like a larger M1911 kind of deal. Which feels odd to say. Like, I just call it the 1911, but I feel like that sounds dumb if you just say it and nobody knows what you're talking about. And that gun's pretty cool. It's pretty funky to mess around with in the shooting range and all that. But recently, I only found out through when my friend got the game and we were hopping on, he didn't have access to the gun because you had to have the game before that update dropped or pre-order the console edition. And DLC weapons is something that they never had on their slate. Editing Wendigo here. In finding some screenshots to throw up for this, I also found out that it applied to two other weapons. The 590M, which is a shotgun, which is important for gameplay, and the M32A1, which is a grenade launcher that launches, gas and flashbangs or whatever. So two incredibly functional and incredibly core weapons to at least the gameplay that I use it for are now locked behind pre-order paywall or ordering the game on PC, which if I knew before this video, I would spend a lot longer ranting on because this is infuriating. But bear that in mind while I talk about how pissed the handgun thing makes me. When you buy a DLC, you get access to new gear and new missions, and the gear is strictly cosmetic. All of the vests and helmets, everything that you get access to there is cosmetic only. Every player in the game functionally has the same equipment available to them, no matter what tier, what rank, how far into the game you are, which I love about that game. But they have now locked a weapon to a point where I do not think you can get it from this point onward, unless you've had the game before or pre-ordered the console edition, or maybe get some Ultimate Edition on console. I haven't really looked too far into that. I don't think you can access this weapon anymore, which is not a huge deal in and of itself. It's one handgun, and there are tons of other weapons in the game. But it marks a very odd business model that we weren't seeing from them before. Paywall locked weapons effectively just wasn't on the slate, and that's really frightening me to see this direction being taken. On top of that, I've kind of noticed, I guess, a declining in the response to feedback. One thing that I've complained about for a long time is the way they handle ballistics in the game. Submachine guns are virtually useless in this game, unless you're going up against light armor people and you just want to fire a couple shots to the leg and get them down. They have no real stopping power. For those of you who do not know much about handguns, you can have armor that completely blocks a bullet, that a bullet just will not be able to get through, and that's fine. I get that a light bullet from a submachine gun might not be able to pierce some, decked out security guard with body armor. I understand that. But something very important about ballistics is kinetic energy. There is an amount of energy in that bullet when you fire it. And when it actually hits somebody, regardless of how that happens, that energy has to be transferred. Now, certain body armors are able to absorb that energy better than others. But in the game, if a man in fully body armor is charging at me with a shotgun, and I fire 4 rounds of 45 ACP into his chest, and he doesn't even flinch, I get a little annoyed. There should be a degree of stunning going on there, and this has been a complaint of mine and another, bundle of people in the community for a long time, and they just have not seemed to fix it or get it right. And that does create a large gameplay imbalance. There's some shit you just can't do, and some shit you just can't use. Larger rifles with 7.62 rounds have the adequate stopping power, you fire one to the chest and they're keeling over. They're on the ground, you can arrest them, whatever. But even rounds like 5.56, you can fire a few rounds into somebody and they won't even flinch at you, which creates for a very weird gameplay dynamic, and it's frustrating, and it's a complaint that I've seen other people have for a long time that has just gone completely unaddressed in the community. All in all, my concerns with Void Interactive is just I used to view them as this incredibly cool and outstanding company from the rest of the, indie game field, I guess. Or I guess rest of the gaming field, not indie games specifically. Doing something very, very motivated and artistic with their craft, putting a message in front of you, and they're not 100% sure about it either. They are putting out a message that has no clear answer. They're just showing you the perceived struggles and the toughness of everything going on in that realm, and they're allowing you to make your own thoughts on it, which I love. For the longest time, I held them to this high regard, and they seem to just be declining, and it is frightening to me. Again, I'm not going to say this goes for every member of the team. There are probably some fantastic developers on it, and the vision they bring to Ready or Not is genuinely unlike any other tactical-esque game I've played, any milsim. But the general direction of the company, whether it's motivated by money or growth or safety, seems to be going the opposite of how they started. And you can see that in quite a few gaming companies today. So that's kind of what I wanted to come on and ramble about. I know this is a lot more of a serious video than what I normally do, so let me know what you think of that, because I do my goofy rambles, and I have a couple of goofy things planned, but I just, every now and then I want to get on and talk about something that really strikes me, and I'm really passionate about, which, if you do like this, I'll do one for the Subnautica drama. Subnautica, if you don't know, is my favorite game ever. That shit was a large portion of me growing up. When I was, however long ago I started playing the game, I play it religiously. It's a beautiful game, and I love it. And the second one is coming out, allegedly, in March, I believe. So, there's a lot to be said there, and if you want another kind of rambly video to throw on while you're doing whatever, let me know in the comments. On another note, I do appreciate all the interaction I've had in the community lately, and it just means the world to be able to sit down in my incredibly comfortable chair and bedroom setup and record videos for you guys. So, as all sappy content creators do, I am incredibly thankful for my whole audience. So, if you have any suggestions, any criticisms of me, I would love to hear them in the comments. Thank you for watching. I still do not know how to end a video.